Welcome to Little English Studio, where English learning meets the inspiring stories of the world's greatest people. Here, we bring you powerful life journeys told in simple English, so you can improve your English while learning life lessons. Today, we will explore the incredible life of Helen Keller, a woman who could not see and could not hear, but whose voice changed the world forever. Helen Adams Keller was born on June 27, 1880, in Tuscumbia, Alabama, USA. She was a bright and healthy baby, full of energy. Her father, Arthur Keller, was a newspaper editor and had once served as a Confederate officer during the American Civil War. Her mother, Kate Adams Keller, was a strong and supportive woman. For the first 19 months of her life, Helen grew like any other child. She learned to walk, she began to say her first words, and she loved exploring the world around her. But then, something happened that would change her life forever. At just 19 months old, Helen was struck by a severe illness. Doctors at the time called it brain fever or scarlet fever. Today, experts believe it may have been meningitis. Whatever it was, the fever left Helen both blind and deaf. Imagine the shock for her parents. One day, their little girl was laughing and talking. The next, she was trapped in complete silence and total darkness. She could not see her mother's face. She could not hear her father's voice. Helen entered a world without light and without sound. She was cut off from language, cut off from communication. As Helen grew older, her frustration grew. She wanted to express herself, but she had no words. She could not ask for what she needed. She could not understand the people around her. When she was hungry, she cried. When she was angry, she threw tantrums. Her family tried to control her, but no one knew how to reach her mind. Helen later described this period of her life as being at sea in a dense fog. She was like a ship without direction, drifting in darkness. Everything began to change in March 1887. When Helen was 6 years old, a young teacher named Sullivan arrived at the Keller home. Anne was only 20 years old, but she had already faced struggles of her own. She had poor eyesight and had studied at the Perkins School for the Blind in Boston. Anne believed that every child, no matter their disability, could learn. She was determined to break through Helen's silence and darkness. Her arrival was the turning point in Helen Keller's life. Anne began teaching Helen through the sense of touch. She used a method called manual alphabet, where words are spelled into the palm of the hand using finger movements. At first, Helen was confused. Anne would put an object into Helen's hand, like a doll, and then spell DOLL into her palm. But Helen did not understand the connection. Then, one spring day in April, 1887, the miracle happened. Anne took Helen to the water pump outside the house. She placed Helen's hand under the stream of cool water, while spelling WATER into her palm. Suddenly, something clicked in Helen's mind. She realized that the movements in her hand were symbols for the liquid rushing over her skin. For the first time, she connected words to the world. Helen later wrote, "That living word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, and joy, set it free." From that day forward, Helen wanted to learn every word she could. She touched everything around her, demanding its name. The world had opened to her. Helen learned quickly. Within months, she mastered hundreds of words through touch. Soon, she was reading Braille, a writing system of raised dots for the blind. Anne stayed by her side, spelling words into her hand, reading books with her, and guiding her through the world. In 1890, Helen began to learn how to speak. She placed her fingers on people's lips and throat to feel the vibrations of sounds. It was not easy, but she worked tirelessly. In 1900, Helen entered Radcliffe College, part of Harvard University. She was the first deaf-blind person to be accepted. With Anne Sullivan interpreting lectures into her hand, Helen studied literature, philosophy, history, and languages. In 1904, Helen graduated with honors, becoming the first deaf-blind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. It was a victory not just for Helen, but for all people with disabilities. Helen began to write about her life. Her autobiography, The Story of My Life, published in 1903, became a worldwide success. Readers were amazed at her courage, her determination, and her ability to describe the world she could not see or hear. She went on to write 14 books and hundreds of essays, covering topics from her own experiences to politics, religion, and social justice. Helen also became a powerful public speaker. With Anne and later Polly Thompson by her side, she traveled across America and around the world. Audiences were deeply moved by her words and her presence. Helen Keller was not only a symbol of hope, she was also a fighter for justice. She campaigned for rights of people with disabilities, promoting education and opportunities for the blind and deaf, women's rights, supporting the right of women to vote, workers' rights, calling for better pay and conditions, peace, speaking out against war and violence. She worked closely with the American Foundation for the Blind for over 40 years, raising awareness and funds. She met world leaders, including US presidents, Winston Churchill, and even traveled to Japan, India, and Egypt, spreading her message of hope. Not everyone agreed with Helen. Some critics attacked her political views, especially when she supported socialism and workers' rights. Others doubted her abilities, suggesting Anne Sullivan had done the real work. But Helen never stopped. She said, while they were saying it couldn't be done, it was done. Her courage was stronger than the doubts of others. Even in her later years, Helen never stopped traveling, writing, and inspiring. She continued to meet leaders, visit schools, and speak on behalf of those without a voice. Anne Sullivan, her beloved teacher and companion, passed away in 1936. Helen was heartbroken, but she continued her mission with the help of Polly Thompson. Helen Keller lived until June 1, 1968, passing away peacefully at the age of 87. She left behind a legacy of hope and strength that continues to inspire millions today. Disability is not inability. Even without sight and hearing, Helen proved that the human spirit has no limits. The power of a teacher. Anne Sullivan's patience and dedication show how one person can change another's life. Never stop learning. Helen's hunger for knowledge opened doors to a world most thought was closed to her. Use your voice for others. She spoke not only for herself, but for the blind, the deaf, the poor, and the oppressed. Hope can defeat darkness. Even in silence and blindness, Helen found light and gave light to others. This was the story of Helen Keller, a woman who lived in darkness and silence, but whose voice was louder than millions. At Little English Studio, we bring you stories like these to inspire your life and improve your English. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories of the world's greatest people.